The Latino population is dramatically on the rise in the United States. They comprise the majority of households whose home language is not English. The authors, to be referred to as August et al., note that despite the widespread observation that Latino children generally perform very low on English language reading assessments, no prior research could adequately explain why exactly this might be. They suspect that this could be related to the children's level of vocabulary development, as it seems to do in monolingual children. August et al. Aimed to establish specifically what predicts Spanish and English vocabulary for a population of Spanish-English bilingual students in the context of U.S. schooling. Research participants were the households of 96 fifth-grade students from 4 schools in Boston, Massachusetts, El Paso, Texas, and Chicago, Illinois. All these schools use the same Spanish-English reading curriculum called Success for All. Over half of the students received their initial literacy instruction in Spanish, transitioning to the English literacy instruction at varying points in their early elementary education. Parent surveys were used to collect the following information: demographic variables and socioeconomic status, language use and exposure at home, literacy practices and support in the home in Spanish and English. The 96 students were also given the vocabulary subtest of the Woodcock Language Proficiency Battery in both Spanish and English. Based on the parent reports, August et al. Found that about 45% of the households were living below the poverty line. They found extensive variation among the reports for mother's education level, but about half the homes reported that the mother had at least completed high school. Home language preference was also split about half and half between a preference for Spanish and a preference for English. Most of the children spoke mostly Spanish with their parents, but used a combination of both languages when communicating with their siblings, demonstrating a slight preference for English in these communications. Age of parents upon arrival in the USA ranged on average between 12 and 14 years. Families declared having between 5 and 110 books in the household and read on average every other day, although this data also demonstrated considerable variation. The parents reported their children received more literacy support in English than in Spanish. Other results of data collection include 66% of the children in the sample had average or above average Spanish vocabulary scores when compared to the national norms, whereas for English, almost 75% did. Vocabulary scores appear to have a very high correlation with the language of initial literacy instruction, the parents' preferred home language, and the language used to communicate with siblings. August et al. Were trying to discover the predictors of vocabulary in Spanish and English for these children. A summary of the authors' proposed answers to their research questions can be presented with these 2 statements. For children who received their initial instruction in English, English vocabulary was best predicted by personal literacy support in English, whereas for children receiving instruction in Spanish, gender and paternal preference for English were the best predictors. Also, instead of parental preference for English, sibling preference for English was the only significant predictor when predicting Spanish vocabulary for students with initial instruction in Spanish. The researchers connect their results to a variety of possible conclusions related to the influence of minority language status in the USA, amount of time that has passed since the family moved to the USA, the degree to which the parents understood the school's expectations, and the stigma attached to being a member of an immigrant family in the USA. August et al. Provide a few educational implications of these findings. One is that the literacy supports required for a bilingual child are different for Spanish and English. English literacy could survive with support only coming from the school. However, supports in Spanish literacy needed social supports in addition to supports from the child's schooling. The authors also suggest that the persistently promoted negative connotations in United States society associated with multilingual communities could also be contributing to the consistently low achievement on average in these same communities. Many students have found a way to overcome the dismal predictions for their future. It is this presenter's view that all students deserve an equal opportunity of following their dreams and pursuing their aspirations, and so I leave you with these 3 questions for continued pondering. How might these research findings connect with social justice issues in the United States? How might our education system support Latino parents in supporting their children's literacy? And how might educators promote the positive perception of multilingualism?